welcome back to Scientific Diaries Season 2.
Hi everyone, we finally decided to come back for another series.
Yes.
So thank you after our hiatus.
We took a 6-month long break.
It's really tough. Why did we do that, Andy?
We were busy with work and shit.
Fair enough. I think you just said it like it was. It was just crazy. But I'm glad we're doing it because we've been talking about doing this podcast series for a while, and I think we just wanted to take a bit of break and to reset and to find out what we wanted to talk about in series 2 and think about our guests and all of that, and finally get together. And it's been hectic, but I'm so glad because this is actually about a year to the day when I think we recorded our first one.
Yeah, and this time we're gonna try our best to be more consistent.
Yes,
we got distracted quite a bit because obviously as things started picking up in Dubai, life got busy, but we promise to do better.
Well, definitely we will, and we've got loads of cool stuff happening in this series. So series 2, we've got loads of interesting guests coming up that we've been researching over the last couple of weeks as well. So kind of unique stories from people doing cool things over the last duration. So speaking to lots of different expats about their stories and why they came to Dubai and what they're doing now. So kind of the whole idea we set up this podcast, I guess, just to journey back, was during lockdown when we wanted to spread a bit more positivity because it was obviously pretty depressing.
It was. It was so sad. Honestly, we were having... This whole thing was eventually a result of a really sad lunch that we had, and we were so upset.
I was pretty
tipsy.
I think it was definitely the result of some pink gin, but
yes.
And then it was good, and then this was born. So, and we've had about 500 downloads in last season, so we are kind of building up. So excited for this one. Yeah, thanks everyone for sticking around and coming back to us, and here we are, first episode, series 2.
Let's go. All right. So we've got a brand new guest with us. Her name is Astha. She is 18 years old. She's a poet and a very young creative. Astha, the floor is all yours.
Okay. So Andy introduced me as an 18-year-old. That's a poet and a creative. So that's what I am. I'm a poet and a creative. I'm currently studying in college first year. I'm an honors student in psychology and neuropsychology and abnormal brain sort of things, things that go wrong with the brain and the human psyche are things that inspire me.
Wow. That I did not know that. And I worked with you for a month.
Yeah, so basically Andy and Astha know each other. They worked with each other for a month when during Andy's job, and Astha came along, was this awesome creative and helped her out for a bit. But now you're doing you're off doing your own graphic design stuff as well. But that's really smart. You're doing loads of cool things. But what we also loved about your story was how your kind of background and your story till now, and how you've sort of found an outlet in your poetry, which was incredibly interesting. And just before we came onto the podcast, you were telling us about what you've been doing and some of the poetry and open mic nights you've been doing. But how did you get into it, and what inspired you?
Okay, so being the idealistic troubled child, I changed a bunch of schools because none of the schools wanted me. Everybody thought, no, this is too much to handle. So I know that's sad. Okay, so I had these teachers that were super fixated on having scholar students with great marks, but I wasn't that. So there was a lot of shade going on from teachers and from the students, from the scholars, people who were doing well. Everybody kind of just sidelined all the students that weren't as academically smart. So it kind of a revenge sort of a situation built up, and I was oh my God, I'm going to lock myself in my room for 3 months. I'm going to study and then smack grades on their face. So I was a scholar student from grade 5 to grade 12, where I was scoring 100% throughout the years, and the teachers were kind of shook, but nobody still liked the situation I was bringing up in school, because it was a domino effect. One rebellious kid creates another rebellious kid, and it kind of just spreads
Yeah.
Coronavirus.
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 Yeah, I was going with that one.
Yeah.
But coronavirus, but very topical. Very
Yeah.
good.
I'm trying to stay on trend. So spreads like coronavirus.
Yeah.
So we created like this entire group of students that were like writing very questionable things, but in very poetic forms. So everybody sort of liked it, especially like the kids. It wasn't so much welcome by the teachers because like eventually they found out about it and we were in a whole lot of trouble. But we sort of still sneakily have this Discord server where we like poetically shade on people we don't like. I had this teacher in like 8th grade and we were doing this sort of chapter about like celestial things like the moon, the stars and like cosmos, galaxies. And so we were like done with notes and stuff. So Miss Amen told us that, just write something about the moon. And so my friend and I, like Khushi and I, we wrote a poem on the moon and we got done pretty quickly. So she told us to write like a poem on like each of the planets. So we wrote like poetry on each of the planets and she surprisingly really liked it because like now when I go back to it, it was kind of pathetic. But she really liked it. Maybe like for our age at that time, that was like good work. So we went into like our school magazine and the teachers didn't like that. Because apparently we were supposed to be studying in class and like we shouldn't be having the time to write poetry at all. So
I get it. I think our schooling was kind of similar. Like you had to get good grades, you had to study, and like extracurriculars were not like that important. But I get where you're coming from.
I mean, if you don't have like proof on paper that you're an accomplished student, you're not an accomplished student. So I kind of found a way to put like my accomplishments on paper. So I wrote poetry. Like, see, now it's on paper. I'm an accomplished person.
Like literally.
Yeah. And what happened when you did? Because you were saying that you wrote this sort of into this magazine and it didn't really go down well. And then you mentioned that you started doing like this social media account, which was sort of it sounded a little bit like underground, like you were doing it sort of a little bit away from the traditional school stuff and not really many people knew about it.
We were like alphabet junkies. So we were like smuggling poetry without like the teachers knowing. So so since like there was like lots of things going on, like bad friendship, sort of like the average teen crap going on. Yeah. We had like a lot of things going wrong in school, especially with like the entirety of like people not recognizing bullying as a thing going on because like it's bad for the school's image. I'm not even going to name my school in case they come after me. So there was like a whole bullying situation going on and there was so many like body standard issues because I weighed like mad, like it was 82 kgs for like a tiny human being. So I was like a walking balloon. It's not like I had like a lot of confidence in myself, but it wasn't helping that people around me were treating me like crap. So I was like, oh my god, you know what, I'm gonna write about eating disorders because I was so done with how much I weighed that I decided like, oh my god, if I eat something I'm guilty and I have to like throw it up. So I was so done that I was like, you know what, let's just like write about it. Because I had like this little journal that I used to write in and then burn pages of it because if my mom read it, she would like panic. So that was like my burn journal.
Your burn book.
Yeah, that was my burn book. But there was this one day, surprisingly, where I had like the balls to, go to the Dubai library. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to like just speak here. I'm just going to speak. And, but at that time, it wasn't like the audience for like, it wasn't my audience because there was like kids there. And, So I saw these kids and there was this one child. She really wanted to read this book, but like she couldn't see. And I don't know, something happened, something clicked, and I was like, oh my god, I want to learn Braille and I want to learn ASL because like the more people that can understand things I say, the better. So I went to like register in this international social service competition. It's the Diana International Award for Social Service. So basically all I was doing was like writing books, translating books in Braille and like recording myself, signing books in ASL, and like I won the award that year. It was like last year.
That's pretty cool.
Congrats. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I write my like the poems that I write right now are like recorded in ASL, written in Braille and in English. So Yeah, I actually have like a book coming out day after tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yay!
What's the book called?
Love letters and suicide notes.
That's dark.
It's deep. But a lot of your stuff, like it seems that when you were talking about your eating disorder, and thank you for like talking openly about that. Like, did you find that your poetry was a bit of an outlet for you to sort of express yourself and almost to kind of deal with what you were going through?
Like so much. Like it doesn't just have to be like poetry and something that other people will enjoy. Sometimes it's just about. I have this concept when I started writing. Because when I'm talking to my friends, I don't feel heard. Because it's like this conversation is happening. So you're not listening to me. You're waiting for your turn to talk back.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's totally normal for people to misunderstand you. Like, I totally get that. I misunderstand people sometimes. But like, if I'm writing something and I'm talking to a book or, I mean, it's not like a piece of paper and a pen can misunderstand me. So I can say whatever I want. So sometimes just like writing a journal or a diary or like even like affirmations and putting them up in your house can make so much of a difference, especially when you're like feeling low.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's actually a pretty good outlet just to get all of your feelings out on paper rather than internalizing it. And this is such a healthy way that you chose to deal with the issues that you were having. That's real mature.
Yay.
But a lot of people do that. Like, I mean, what I'm saying now that, as you were saying, like Andy, like to kind of when you're sort of got so much going on in your head and like just writing it down, it can be a bit of a cathartic effect because you're just journaling or you're getting your thoughts down on paper. And it's like amazing to think that you kind of started your poetry that way and now it's kind of built. So that's awesome.
I mean, a bunch of my friends, like personally, they don't want to write because like when you put something in front of you, it sort of like validates your negative feelings and they don't want to like put it up into the universe and sort of like manifest. Like they think that what if it's just in my head and if I write it down, it's a real thing now. But like the community for like poets and like people that are like talking about taboo topics is so welcoming. Like everybody loves everything you write regardless of like if it's like good work or if it's not good work. Like there's no sort of like a standard of poetry. Like you can write whatever you want.
Do you think, I mean, I completely agree. And do you think now sort of see like growing up as well, like, and you've been a Dubai kid, like you're 18, like do you find that like the whole like social media piece, like for me, like I remember Facebook coming up like in 2006 when I was at uni and like being the first few people to get on it. And I was like, what's this crazy thing? Now people are on social, like people used to call you up and ask if you want to go out, but now it's all, this is like massively showing my age, but I'm just wondering like
now it's a DM.
Slide into your DMs. But now like what did you find that social media has had a bit of an impact on you sort of growing up in terms of like why you sort of pushed like gone into poetry as of finding your sort of voice as it were?
I mean, all respect to like all social media platforms, but they're like hella toxic. Like everybody just has like these perfect lives, but they'll cry themselves to sleep. I mean, if I go through like my page, it'll be like, oh my God, she's perfect. Like everything's perfect. And like if I look at your social media page or like Andy's social media page, everything's gonna look like, oh my God, they're living flawless lives. But like for someone else that's like not having like the perfect life, when they go through it, they're like, oh shit, like why am I not happy? Why is she happy? I mean, it should have been more of like, oh my God, she has like the perfect body, her makeup's perfect, her hair's perfect, I'm happy for her. Why does it have to be I want to be her?
Absolutely. And that, like, I know that like even now sort of growing up as well, like in that age as well, there's like so many stats around to show that like the negative impacts, I think even especially during lockdown, like the impacts of social media and like it's pretty powerful and it's pretty worrying, I think, the impact. I remember watching a film or a documentary a while ago and it was all around like the social network and how it kind of influences people to do different things. But yeah, anyways, just interesting to see how it's kind of played out and how it affected you.
That's low-key why I wanted to study psychology, because we learn about these things called developmental stages, and like especially like the teen years, there's this thing called a false audience where you think everybody's just like fixated on you and you have to be perfect. Social media like massively amplifies that. Like you actually have an audience instead of like it being a false audience that will go away as you develop through age. You genuinely have like an audience that's going to judge you.
Yeah. And on like, I mean, I guess like on the positive sides of it as well, like the social stuff, it also has a huge kind of I guess is a huge reason about like, and it's increased your following and your profile with all your poetry. So like, that's another kind of outlet. So it's, I guess there's the negatives, but there's also the positives of it as well. So for you, I guess, you know, for your poetry and using it as an outlet to kind of reach different people, to have people sort of resonated with your poems when they've seen them.
It was so shocking when like people related to things I wrote about, because I genuinely, like, from my experience in social media, I genuinely thought people would like backlash, like, oh my god, don't talk about things like this, it's not okay, because that's sort of like the societal norm that you don't get to talk about things that you're going through, because then you're like a part of the society that represents the society. So like, you're just not allowed to talk about anything that's wrong with like people in general. But like the positive response, it was mad. It's like finding family on social media that like resonates with you.
That's so true. That's awesome. And so like literally it must be quite, I guess, humbling to think that you're sort of affecting people's lives and giving them something positive to think about and helping them if they're going through perhaps some of the same issues. So I guess you're very relatable. Like, you're talking about like taboo topics that, you know, you can't really write about, and you probably couldn't have done so at school or just like, I don't know, through publishing articles. Like, this way it's been this kind of cool open forum where you've been able to be yourself and express who you are and just talk about things like identity issues, etc.
That's actually like the first line in my book. It says 18-year-old uninspired by high school, unpublished to date because of harsh words.
That's grim, but it's so no, it's so impactful. Like, you know, it makes you like pause and think. Like, it's pretty cool.
Tell us about like your book then. So like, I mean, how long did it take you like to write that? And that must have just been a huge kind of project that you took on.
It was like in the beginning of the year, sort of like when I turned 18, I was like, oh damn, you know, Amazon's gonna like accept me as a writer now. I turned 18. It was a huge deal. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna just like start writing. So I spoke to all my friends, and like each of the chapters in the book is like related to one of my friends. So I'll ask them about like something that's happened. It doesn't have to be a sad thing or a happy thing. It could just be anything that they've experienced. And I'll just like shorten it or like lengthen it depending on like how I want the vibe in the book to be. And I'll just write about it, like make it rhyme. Like, rhyming makes everything beautiful. So I just make it rhyme. That's everything. My friends are in my book.
No way. So your book's actually, is it like a big poem? Like,
it's not a big poem. It's like 30 small poems that connect to each other in the saddest way possible.
Why did you choose to go the sad route? Like, why not share something that's more, you know, that's more mainstream and positive?
Because it was mainstream and positive. Like since like I'm a psychology student, I know like people, if something's making you happy, you will immediately take it for granted. Like, till the time you lose something, it's more of like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So till the time you lose something, there's no importance for it. So if something's making you sad and you have to like overthink it and like think about it like over and over and over again, it's going to stay in your head. Like, a lot of the chapters in my book are even numbered wrong, so you remember it. They're like numbered out of place. So people are like, oh, this was the book that was like, that had wrong chapter numbers. It was just like putting subtle things in there to make it like a sort of like, oh my God, that was the book.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And what like, and so you're publishing it. It's out, you said, in the next couple of days.
Yes.
And so it's going to be published and it'll be available to order on Amazon.
I mean, it's available like in paperback. I don't know if I have the time to edit it out as an ebook, because like you can't put on PDFs, but too much work.
How did you get it? Like, I mean, in terms of the publishing side of it, so how did you get the publishers on board? Like, because I've heard some things with people that have started books and their kind of number of transcripts they sent out to publishers, and then they get rejected. And then you're like, come on, keep going. And then suddenly they have that breakthrough moment where someone accepts it. Yeah. And then, I don't know, fast forward 10 years and then there's literally, I don't know, pronounced, I can't speak, but a proper sort of like published author and like pumping out all these different books, and they have a following, and I guess that's how it starts. But did you find it sort of a challenge?
I was like super inspired by Rupi Kaur. Even she writes like absolutely taboo things. Like, I cannot make my mom read her books. Like, it is just, it's no, like you just can't. You can't have like adults, maybe not like adults, sort of like
Parents.
Yeah, parents is the word. Yeah. Like, you can't have them read her books, because like she's like on your face. Like, she does not give like absolutely any shit about like who's reading her book. She writes for herself, but she was more of like an Insta poet. Like she was just putting out quotes and things like that on Instagram, and like her following built like mad, and then her followers sort of like insisted very, very strongly, stalking her, asking her to like publish a book, but like nobody would. So she self-published herself on Amazon. That's sort of like what I did, like KDP. So I self-published myself on Amazon, and then I got this like, it's been 4 months since I've been sending out transcripts to like other publishers, but like obviously like an 18-year-old cannot write a book. So I get it. I get like the norm. So it was fine. I wasn't like butthurt by it. So I was like, I'm a publisher myself. And so after I sent out the transcripts to Amazon, I sent it out to like a bunch of places with like the name Amazon, like, oh, I'm self-publishing on Amazon. And then I got a bunch of publishers to like speak to me. That's sort of how like Rupi Kaur also built, like she was on Amazon and then she went to Penguin Books. So I'm here right now, like in the Amazon field, and I have like a 3-month notice. So like I can't publish elsewhere with anyone else until 3 months. So after that, I'm working with these publishers in Gurgaon. So yeah, I mean, I want to see how that goes.
That's pretty cool. I'm really excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to get your book first.
Aww.
And then see like what you come up with next.
Yeah, that absolutely. And like and your kind of determination is so amazing as well to see. So you've literally you've had that idea and you knew you wanted to do it, and I think I completely admire that. So yeah, congratulations, and I hope like your book goes down really well, because it sounds like you've got a big ambition ahead of you for it.
Yeah. So apart from
we just have a cat, by the way, everyone.
Yeah.
So that's
so just distracted us for a bit.
Wanted to get in on the action. It wouldn't be a podcast without Luna coming in.
Yeah. At least she's not meowing.
That's true.
That would be hard to edit.
That's true.
But yeah, so Rupi Kaur seems to be a big inspiration in your life. Apart from her, who else has inspired you? Who has inspired your work?
I think every author that's just had like traumatic life experiences is an inspiration, like Rupi Kaur. Atticus was like, he blew my mind away because he was like an anonymous author for so long. Like nobody knew who he was. Like he had like this mask on even when he's like going out like get groceries and stuff like that. Like nobody knew who. And now he's just like huge, and he writes these mad good poems. I actually have like 2 dedications in my book for him, because like that's how much I love him. And then there's this author Rilke. My favorite piece by him is where he wrote this heavy humanness. Beautiful. That poem is just mad good. Sylvia Plath, Rilke, Atticus, sometimes even Shakespeare, like when he wrote The Tempest, that was like such a wild concept. Like how would you write about like a storm in such a crazy way?
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, you've got a real mix there. Like, so Sylvia Plath, like dark, like it's given you a lot of obviously inspiration and way that you can kind of modernize and think about, take your experiences and what you want to talk about and make it relevant to people today.
I mean, scientifically, like the job of like the human race is to either like reproduce or be remembered. Like it's either immortality or multiplication. And like when I think about poets, like they're forever immortal. Like you will always remember a poet. So that's sort of like the vibe I was going for. Like I want to be immortal.
Yeah, and have that legacy as well. Like your poems like live on afterwards, and like they're still like, you know, reading Shakespeare is like, it's so, you can read that and it's just as relevant now as it was back then. So it's fascinating to kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. So maybe now we can get you to read one of your poems.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So people get a sneak peek of what they can expect from your book.
Okay. What do I read? Okay, this is titled Apology. Okay, so I'm just gonna read it after I get a hold of my phone. Okay, in the decade of skinny girls and sugar-free cinnamon swirls, we guzzled vitamin water and mint pearls. Toasting to high school and leaking water taps, complimenting each other's thigh gaps, trying diets we found on the internet, menthol cigarettes, eating in front of a mirror, donating blood, replacing meals with other totally practical hobbies like making flour crowns or fainting, wondering why my period hasn't come in months, or why breakfast tastes like giving up, or how many more productive ways I could have utilized my time than Googling the number of calories on the cement I ate back when I was 5. As a child, fat was the first word people used to describe me, but that didn't offend me until I realized it was supposed to. When I lost weight, my parents were so proud they started carrying my before and after photographs in their wallets. By the time I was 16, I'd already experienced being overweight, underweight, and obese. Girls who never talked to me, just teased, stopped me in the hallway to ask me how I transformed. If you develop an eating disorder, when you're already thin to begin with, you end up in the hospital. But if you develop an eating disorder when you're not already thin to begin with, you become a success story. When people ask me about the metamorphosis, I say I'm sick. They say, no, you're an inspiration. How can I not fall in love with an illness? Sometimes I miss being sick. The grimmest parts of me wish they could carve back into the familiar city of grey and emptiness and whatever the opposite of healing is, where there was nothing to laugh about but plenty to write about. I've considered myself to be recovered from whatever for 2 years now, but I still write about it in present tense. I also still keep 3-year-old screenshots in my gallery. Last night when I was hungry, I put on fake nails and painted them. I can't eat until the polish is dry. I pack my breakfast with floss and lunches with teeth whitening strips. Drink water when I'm sad, water when I'm hungry, water when I'm anxious, water when I'm angry, water when I'm happy. Body, forgive me. It's unfair to you to drink so much water that your organs merely float in you like swim tubes. I can't write about this in more detail because what if you mistake my words for an instruction manual? The ticking calculator in your head, the ticking time bomb that makes you relish the feeling of water sinking down into an empty stomach, the cold flowing, extinguishing the fire in your body, not obsessed with being empty, just scared of being full. Body, forgive me, for sucking on ice cubes does not count as dinner. Body, forgive me for counting the calories on chocolate bars. Body, forgive me for seeing an M&M as 4 rounds of the football field. Body, forgive me for there's more dust in my lungs than the air in Delhi. Body, forgive me if you are not recovering, you are dying. Body, forgive me for if you still asked me how I wanted to die, I'd say fitted in a size 0 dress.
Wow. That was epic.
Yeah.
I feel like quite emotional listening to that. Like that was so nicely read, and that's so powerful, and just I guess encapsulates how you're feeling at the time.
it touches something in you, like, you know, you cannot, like, it just like sparks something.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it was beautiful. Like, it was really beautiful.
And when you do your we were just like, oh, that was awesome. But when you do your open mic nights, like, I mean, how does it feel kind of reading out your poems to a live audience? Do you get a buzz from it, or do you find it quite healing, or how is it?
It's about the adrenaline. Like when you there's like this tradition in like slam poetry and open mics where you can't clap. Because like that's like a society thing. So everything about like slam poetry and open mics is just deviating as far as possible from like regular things. So we snap in between, like if they like a specific line, or if like they like the entire thing, they're gonna like snap in between. So when you say something that like really hits, it's like the opposite of stand-up comedy, like stand-up depression. So when someone finds like a punchline and they snap, the adrenaline is just mad.
That's quite different. Like,
yeah,
usually like people are driven by applause, but this is like on another level altogether.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like, and where are these open mic nights? Like, because I've been in Dubai for a while and I never like see them. Are they like in our coups? I feel like maybe that's where I'm not seeing them.
I mean, okay, so open mics normally are like invitation based, but there's like once every month, like a bunch of cafes will have like open mics, and they'll like send out invites to like poets, and like if my friends want to see me perform, they'll like show up there. That's sort of how they build their audience in the place. So I mean, if you want to hear me speak one day, I can just like let you know, and then you can show up and listen to me.
Definitely.
We'll be like the people that's clapping. They'll be like, no, don't
Can't
clap.
clap.
We're
And
not
he
meant
come with a box of tissues.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
that like almost brought me to tears. Like I had to fight.
Absolutely, yeah, and that I guess was at that point in your. When did you write that poem? Was that a while ago?
I wrote this like a year and a half ago.
And how have your poems sort of evolved like since that? 'Cause you're saying now that you're feeling a lot better, but and then what do you write about now? Like what's driving you?
I write more about like identity and like identity crises, because I'm always like in a place where I feel like everybody else is just a little bit better. So I mean, there's this saying that like if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So that's kind of like the situations I like putting myself in. Like if I'm the best, I'm the most accomplished person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So I mean, just because I put myself in that position, I have like a lot of like identity issues. So I write about like how to bring out like positive feelings and like nice things and like just feel nice about yourself. Like wake up like Cardi B.
Exactly, yeah, the dream. And I guess just sort of like finally like wrapping it up, like, and it's been amazing actually having you on and hearing about your story and what you write about, what drives you. Like you're clearly going to be hugely successful with everything you're doing, so amazing. And it's been great to meet you. But what is like your advice, like people of your generation that you're speaking to, like what is it that you would, if people are struggling with issues, like how would you advise them and what should they do?
Honestly speaking, like not even like honestly, like statistically speaking, the Gen Z is the most depressed generation. But that's only because like we try so hard to please everybody. So I feel like my advice would just be like find some outlet, like something to do to like release like your frustration and all the anxiety related to yourself. But what's most important, like what built me was to understand that honestly, like from like the bottom of everybody else's hearts, nobody cares about who you are. Like everybody is just so like as obsessed as I am with myself, as narcissistic as I am, everybody else is equally narcissistic. Like nobody cares about what's happening in other people's lives. So if we just stop like overthinking about like what another person's thinking about me, that would solve so many problems.
True.
That's massively true. Yeah. Like people, and I was thinking this, I think someone was telling me a while ago, like often no one really cares like what you're doing. So sometimes I think we will get caught up and think, oh no, like I shouldn't be doing this, or what are they going to think if I do this? But it's just that overthinking, I think, is something that like so many people like struggle with a bit, but actually like, crack on, like people are too busy kind of worrying about their own thing.
So true.
Yeah. No, in India, there's a saying like usually like our moms will go with this like log kya kahenge?
LKK syndrome.
Yeah, like what do people say?
Is that what it means?
Yeah. So so that message is like perfect for people struggling with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's next for you? So obviously you got your book coming out. You're at uni, you're doing your job as well as, which sounds awesome. You're doing your creativity stuff. We were saying that you were in one JLT the other day, which is cool. So was I. But yeah, what's next for you?
Okay, so I want to put out 2 more books this year. So that's just going to be like a series where it transitions from like really sad book to like a moderately sad book to a happy book. So that's kind of my goal, to be able to push myself to write something happy, because the entirety of like my work is just sad. Like if you're not sad, it will make you sad. So I mean, if someone's like looking for like an outlet to cry, you should just probably just like read my books. It'll depress you. Like generally it'll depress you. But like my motive is to like put out 2 more books, slightly happier books, and to have like this community. Like I'm trying to build like this community of poets for like people my age. But we have this one person who's he's 41 and he writes beautiful poetry, and he's part of like this community where we just like, we have Zoom calls every week and we talk about like things we've written about. And oh my God, I love that feeling of like having people to talk to and having people talk to me about their problems. So I just want to like sort of make that community a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's sweet.
I didn't even know if there's that much in Dubai when it comes to like creativity and having a community like that. Is this something quite new, do you think?
It's a gap in the market.
Yeah.
I think that's how
very marketing.
It's a gap. It's a gap in the market. Like it exists, but nobody wants to push it because they're unsure. So like instability is kind of just like pushing it down. I mean, it doesn't really have to be something that's generating you like income or like fame. Sometimes it can just be like for your mental health. Like if you lose your mind, like will you really be able to earn?
No.
It all connects, right? So like having that kind of outlet and that way to sort of bring it all together, like it helps people, like, and that's, I think, over the last 18 months, like mental health's been like, and we speak about it quite a lot on this podcast and just like in general, but I think that having like an outlet and having a community to sort of who you can speak to and that you connect with, that kind of resonates with you, that's going through the same things, like that's hugely important, and it's great that you are kind of driving that.
I feel like just because mental health or like mental illnesses are not something that you can like visibly see on a person, because anyone that has like mental health issues will try their level best, like till their dying breath they'll try to hide it, because like it's not okay for you to have like a mental illness. I had this friend of mine who said that, you know, depression is not even a real thing. Like if someone has anxiety, they go through these like physical symptoms that are like the exact same that a person with a heart attack will get. Like you have like this pain and the stroke like feeling. The only difference is in the heart attack, the person might die in anxiety. Like if someone's anxious, the person will not die. Naturally, they'll eventually like
calm down. Yeah.
But like if you get a heart attack, there's a higher chance for you to die. But besides that, like they're the exact same symptoms. Just because something's, you can't see something does not mean it does not exist.
Yeah. Mental health is like not ghost. It's not like ghosts, you know.
Is it like ghost?
Yeah. Like ghosts do not exist, obviously, but mental health does, because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
That's true. I thought you were talking about the film. I was like,
no, actual ghosts, not actual like ghosts. In air quotes.
Yeah, but thank you. Like, awesome that you've kind of got this like little community going on as well now, and like best of luck with the other books. It sounds like it's going to be a journey, and even though I think you're saying like some of your books might be sad, but I'm sure there's probably like a redeeming quality. And also they say when you're going through a tough time, it's actually quite cathartic to read something that can let you wallow. It's like when you're having a tough time, you listen to a sad song and it kind of, you just get all your emotions out and then you suddenly feel a lot better. So I think your books are probably more positive than maybe you realize.
Thank you.
They're probably helping people more than they might think or they might expect.
I really hope so.
Yes. So that's it from us for this episode. Thank you, Astha, for joining us. We had a great time.
Thank you so much for having me.
She's so cute. I promise she's so cute. I just want to squeeze her.
That's hilarious.
But we'll be back with more exciting guests. And see you next time.
Brilliant. Thanks again, everyone. See you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.